Here's an update on MeteoMark weather. We're going to get right into photos here. Kyle Kinkoff from Cleveland, Ohio. Here's some nice blooming trees here in Cleveland, Ohio. These were taken yesterday on April 30th, 2013. Very nice, Kyle. Thank you. Very nice. Trees starting to bloom, and finally we're starting to see a very late start to spring. Very nice pictures, Kyle. Keep those pictures rolling in, everyone. Let's get right into quantitative precipitation amounts during the next 48 hours through the end of the week, the end of the work week here. We're looking forward to TGIF in a couple days here. We're looking at a lot of precipitation across the mid-Mississippi River Valley up into the Midwest, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, even down here across the Gulf Coast and into Florida, where we'll see some heavy, possibly flooding rains, 2 to 4 inches, some bullseyes here around New Orleans and South Florida, and then up through the central portion of the Midwest here. Let's get right into the Thursday scenario. We're almost to the end of the work week. We've got this low pressure system across the Gulf states here, out over the Gulf of Mexico, that has a tropical connection, and this will continue to funnel tropical moisture up and down the Mississippi River Valley. We're only expecting a isolated severe in certain areas, mainly around the core of this low pressure and trough here. They'll be very narrow and isolated in variety, but that heavy rain stretches up through the Midwest, and we're looking at a very nice weekend. Head on to Friday scenario across the Midwest here. Mostly rain extending west of Ohio, west to the Ohio Valley and down through the mid-Mississippi River Valley, and extending down towards the Gulf Coast. Things are going to be rainy here as we get that tropical feed in through here across. And then we see a lot of this back on the back side, as you saw on Thursday there. We'll have some snowfall, very wet snow, however, across Oklahoma and up through parts of Minnesota. And that starts to die down a bit on Friday as we get some of that warmer air working in. Saturday, there's where we get most of the precipitation heading across the upper Ohio Valley here, extending down towards the Mississippi River Valley. Pretty much stays the same. This is what a cutoff low is all about. It's pretty much about stationary. So let's get right into temperatures. Temperatures are very interesting. Let's take a look. We got you can see where the divide is between this stationary front that you saw, and you can see that really dips those temperatures down across the plain states here and here up across the east. This is where the northeast will actually be warmer in places like the central and southern plains here. 40s, 50s, even some 30s across the plains to support that snow. And in the northeast, we're looking at 70s and maybe even some 80s over portions of the mid-Atlantic. And that extends in well into the weekend here. We're looking for a very nice weekend and no rainfall for the northeast. So, that pretty much does it for MeteoMark. Like me on Facebook at MeteoMark. Subscribe to me on YouTube at MeteoMark.com. MeteoMark.com is my website. Here's a 4-day forecast for my hometown viewers from Binghamton to Elmira in the northern tier counties of Pennsylvania. We're looking pretty much clear through the entire forecast period. We'll start out with lows on Thursday, down into the upper 30s, lower 40s in some of the colder valleys, and we'll extend those lows into warmer conditions through the forecast period, mid-40s by portions of the weekend for overnight lows. Look at this, we stretch. Friday will be the coolest day, probably down to 69 or 70, but then for the weekend we head back up into the low to mid-70s for the Susquehanna region of New York and Pennsylvania. That's going to do it for MeteoMark.